Revolvers have been for ages, but 2025 is proving that they're far from outdated. With innovative designs and classic revivals making waves at SHOT Show this year, it's a great time to be a wheelgun enthusiast again. In this video, we'll talk about 7 new revolvers that are turning heads and why they deserve a spot in your collection or carry rotation. Let's jump right in. I know you've seen your fair share of 3-inch snubbies, but this new offering by Diamondback might bring something fresh to the table. Despite its frame size, you're still getting a 6-shot cylinder, a push-button release, and that full stainless steel construction that made the first Diamondback SDR a hit. The extra inch of barrel length gives you a nice edge in both accuracy and muzzle velocity, especially when you're sending magnum loads downrange. You don't lose the comfortable carry factor either. This revolver rides well on the hip, fits neatly in a decent holster, and stays out of your way until you need it. Diamondback's choice of rubber grips by Hogue takes some sting out of heavier recoil, so you won't feel beat up after a box of hot .357. The fiber optic sights remain low profile, which means they're quick to acquire yet unlikely to snag on clothing. You can practice with 38 Special if you want something a little more affordable or softer in recoil. Either way, the 3-inch barrel manages to keep shots predictable, so you're not fighting muzzle flip as much as you might with a shorter tube. Maintenance is user-friendly because of the fully captured crane link assembly. You can pop it free with a press and everything stays together. That design choice makes cleaning less of a hassle, which is helpful if you plan on regular range visits. Diamondback priced this revolver at around $800, so it stays within reach for people who want a serious defensive tool without overspending. With all the 9mm revolvers being released, you can't help but wonder whether a 9mm revolver makes sense. Hopefully, Diamondback can prove that it does. This SDR 9mm takes the compact frame of their .357 snub-nose SDR and adapts it for one of the world's most popular semi-auto cartridges. You don't lose the 6-shot capacity, and you keep that handy push-button cylinder release for fast reloads. The rimless design isn't an issue because the revolver ships with 3 TK custom moon clips, letting you swap out spent casings with impressive speed. The short 2-inch barrel stays true to the original SDR's footprint, which suits anyone who wants maximum concealability. Diamondback retained the stainless steel frame, so the gun feels solid in hand. The small format can produce snappy recoil, especially if you feed it +P or even +P plus ammo, but the Hogue rubber grip helps you manage each shot. That grip design fills your palm more than you might expect, preventing the revolver from twisting around too much when you press the trigger. Some folks prefer 9mm for its wide availability and relatively affordable cost. This revolver accommodates that preference and doesn't skimp on performance. It's a double-action Chaucher single-action setup, so you can shoot it whichever way feels more comfortable. You still get that easy-to-remove crane link assembly for cleaning, which is a nice perk if you plan to run a lot of rounds through it. That combination of affordability, portability, and quick reload potential speaks to anyone seeking a streamlined defensive tool. Diamondback priced this snub nose slightly lower than the 3-inch .357 version, which might entice you if budget is a concern. The 9mm SDR covers the bases for those who want a no-nonsense revolver chambered in a common cartridge. It's compact, reliable, and surprisingly easy to shoot, making it an intriguing choice for modern carry. Sometimes you just want a revolver that might feel like a direct link to the past. The new Smith & Wesson Model 36 without the internal lock brings that right to your hand. It channels the classic Chief Special vibe from 1950, complete with a pencil barrel and an integrated front sight hump. The deep bluing is gorgeous, and it pairs perfectly with checkered wood grips sporting the traditional Smith & Wesson emblem. This is a 5-shot 38 Special that you could slip into a jacket pocket or IWB holster without feeling weighed down. The trigger is exactly what you expect from Smith & Wesson, smooth in double action and crisp in single. Taking the lock out of the equation means there's one less mechanism that might go wrong, and purists appreciate the simpler profile on the side plate. If you're into classic lines and timeless craftsmanship, you'll enjoy this little gem. Though it's smaller, it's not a gun that begs you to leave it in the safe. It's built to handle modern 38 Special loads, including +P if you can manage the recoil. You're essentially getting a brand new version of a vintage design that's proven itself through decades of service. It's easy to see why so many folks treat the Model 36 as an iconic piece of American firearms history. Smith & Wesson clearly aimed at enthusiasts and collectors who miss the days before the internal lock. Even if you're just discovering these classic snub-nose revolvers, it's worth considering. There's something about the balance of steel, the shape of the grips, and the reassuring heft that feels like a real piece of history in your hand. If you want a small revolver that's as reliable as it is old school, this new Model 36 is a worthy choice. If you haven't heard of it, the Model 10 wrote the book on 38 special service revolvers. Police departments and security firms once relied on this humble wheel gun all across the country. The new no-lock version carries a pencil barrel that brings back memories of the victory and pre-Model 10 days. Instead of a thick bull barrel, you get a slimmer profile that looks elegant and helps with overall balance. The integrated hump front sight sticks to the old design cues and gives the revolver that distinctive silhouette. This version includes smooth wood stocks and a square butt, which might feel unfamiliar if you've mostly shot modern round butt frames. The shape sits comfortably in the hand, though you may want a different set of grips if you prefer more traction. Either way, it's a 6-shot revolver that has that classic cylinder release you've seen in countless old photos and movies. The double action trigger is still that classic Smith & Wesson pull, letting you stage the shot or pull through steadily. Leaving out the internal lock was a statement for Smith & Wesson, showing they know how much folks appreciate that traditional aesthetic. You can admire the blued finish and vintage layout without a keyhole marring the lines. At the same time, you're getting a newly manufactured revolver with better steel than they had decades ago. That means you can run your .38 ammo without worrying you're abusing a collector's piece. This is the kind of handgun that can turn range sessions into relaxing history lessons. It's not high capacity or modern polymer, but it provides a tie to an era when revolvers were the go-to sidearm. The Model 19 used to be the backbone of .357 Magnum K-frames, and now Smith & Wesson is giving fans a reason to celebrate. You get a red ramp front sight, an adjustable rear, and checkered wood grips that say old school cool without crossing into outdated territory. This is a 6-shot .357 that isn't too heavy for everyday carry if you're used to that classic K-frame profile. Having no internal lock means you won't see that little keyhole on the side, which many purists find refreshing. It still delivers that trademark Smith & Wesson trigger that goes from smooth double action to a crisp single action. The K-frame is famously easy to manage, so full house .357 loads don't become unbearable, and .38 Special is a breeze. If you want to keep muzzle flip in check, a proper grip and stance will help you maintain control. The frame feels more svelte than some larger revolvers, which might inspire you to carry it more often, especially if you're a fan of outside-the-waistband holsters. Plenty of shooters were disappointed when Smith & Wesson started integrating the lock on many models, so the no-lock Model 19 addresses that demand for a more traditional layout. At the same time, you're getting updated materials and the knowledge that it's fresh from the factory. You don't have to gamble on a heavily used vintage piece from the 70s. If you're a fan of Skeeter Skelton or Bill Jordan lore, this gun scratches that itch while letting you practice with modern ammo. This reintroduction is a nod to fans who never stop championing the Model 19. It's straightforward enough for practical use, yet handsome enough for display. You get a piece of history reborn, a .357 that still embodies why folks fell in love with these K-frames in the first place. Smith & Wesson took the well-loved L-frame 686, added a 7th round, and then trimmed it down into a mountain gun. That means a tapered barrel that shaves off a little weight and a no-lock design that makes the revolver feel more classic. It's still a .357 Magnum, so it hits hard, but the design changes transform it into an easier carry piece. The ball detent lockup provides a more stable cylinder when firing heavier loads. The forcing cone is reinforced too, so you can keep shooting magnums without trashing the revolver. This version includes American walnut grips that Tyler Gunworks shaped to mimic vintage styles, which helps manage recoil in a way standard grips might not. The gold bead front sight offers quick pickup in various lighting, and you can adjust the rear sight to dial in your point of impact. The result is a revolver that works equally well on the range or out in the backwoods. You might even consider using it for small game or predator defense, given how portable it is compared to a heavier barrel alternative. The L frame typically handles 357 recoil better than smaller frames, so you won't feel punished if you load it up with hotter defensive rounds. That 7th shot also adds some peace of mind. This platform remains convenient to clean, and you won't see that frustrating internal lock anywhere on the frame. Some folks rave about the way it balances, calling it the perfect in-betweener for folks who want more capacity than a K-frame but less heft than a full-on N-frame. If you want a revolver that can handle daily use in serious adventures, the 686 Plus mountain gun does both. It's a fusion of tradition and modern upgrades, giving you timeless lines with the capacity to handle demanding shooting sessions. There's a special thrill that comes with shooting a .44 Magnum. The new Smith & Wesson 629 mountain gun aims to make that experience a bit more practical by trimming down the barrel and leaving out the internal lock. You still get the stainless steel build and that same big bore power, but the same tapered barrel cuts a few ounces so you won't feel like you're lugging around a tank. That slight weight reduction is perfect if you're trekking through bear country or just prefer a lighter sidearm on your belt. This variation features a gold bead front sight that stands out well against targets, and the adjustable rear sight lets you tweak your point of aim. The hammer and trigger are narrow, which some shooters find more comfortable for controlled double-action pulls or precise single-action shots. The black powder chamfer on the cylinder edges gives it a classic look and also helps with smooth holstering. The absence of that internal lock keeps the revolver looking clean and appeases those who dislike extra gizmos that might fail under recoil. Tyler Gunworks collaborated on the grips. They're walnut bear hug grips designed with a palm swell to help you control recoil. If you've handled full-size .44 Magnums, you know how much difference a good set of grips can make. You get the capacity to handle .44 Special for milder recoil or load up with Magnum rounds when you need serious stopping power. The 629 mountain gun provides a nice balance for anyone who wants .44 performance but doesn't want the burden of a hefty barrel. This approach delivers a revolver that remains capable of taking on large predators or serving as home defense. It has that older styling many enthusiasts appreciate, backed by modern production standards. You'll feel the kick, but you won't mind as much once you realize how easy it is to carry in the long run. And those are the 7 newest revolvers released at SHOT Show 2025. I'm really digging that 686 Plus mountain gun, but I'm curious to know which one caught your eye. Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more updates. Hit that bell icon so you don't miss a single video. Thanks for watching.